Not every day do I get to speak with a giant of a man such as Dr. Allan Zeman. Having been brought up in Canada and coming to Hong Kong in the 1970s, he's built an enormous property and entertainment empire. Not only that, through his work with universities and with Ocean Park, he's contributed enormously to the cultural life of Hong Kong as well. But what really sets him apart with the other business tycoons we have here is his sense of style and impeccable taste. As I develop my interview format, I'm finding that I'm wanting to edit the material as little as possible so that my subjects can truly express themselves. So feel free to switch off the video part of this interview and just treat it as a podcast. Please enjoy. Yes, there are so many things that I would love to ask Dr. Zeman, because I know Lan Kwai Fong for a long time, ever since the 70s.
So do I. We're dating ourselves.
So I need to tell you my connection with Lan Kwai Fong and why to me it's a very special place. Because I grew up in Hong Kong in the 70s. I went to high school in Kowloon side, and whenever I get the chance, I would come over to Hong Kong Island. Hong Kong Island was like going to another country back in those days. Me, as a high school kid. Yeah. And I've always liked Lan Kwai Fong because it was kind of edgy. Yes. Right. Are we talking the late 70s?
Correct.
And and I remember there was this. There were a lot of kind of places that somebody like at my age would not be allowed in, disco, and things like that, and the bars and the
the late Gordon Huffart. Yeah.
So, but there was a record store, I don't know if you remember, on a corner of that Lan Kwai Fong street that was selling the latest records from the UK and cool T-shirts and kind of stuff that was
Andrew Bull.
I don't know who that was.
Andrew Bull.
But to me,
Andrew
Bull. I don't know. Is he still around?
He's in China, and he went on to other things.
That was kind of like a really cool
absolutely.
shop.
But he was a DJ and actually at clubs and all that, and so he was really into music, and that was his whole life.
Right.
And Andrew, and then Andrew and I were partners after.
Really?
We used to bring shows to Hong Kong. We brought all famous, the one, to give you a quick story, we had Phil Collins, we had all the, in those years, all the...
This is in the 70s.
Yeah.
So Phil Collins was Genesis.
We had Santana, we had Carlos Santana, we had everyone. We brought him in because we had a company doing that. Right. And I still remember Celine Dion, the famous Celine Dion.
She was already famous then?
She was famous, maybe it was 80s and or 90s possibly, I don't even remember anymore. And we didn't have a venue, and so we put her on at the old Kai Tak Airport, where we created a venue because we couldn't get anything. And I still remember the only place in the world where Celine Dion tickets had a difficult time selling. At that time, Hong Kong, no one knew who she was. Yeah. All they knew was the only way we could promote her was the Titanic lady. They knew it from the film The Titanic, and she sang the song. And then tickets started selling. But it was, I could write a book about some of those experiences. Most people don't even know. I had Air Supply one time at the Coliseum, where they didn't want to go on because one of them had voice problem, and I had a full house at the Coliseum. I had to go backstage before because they wanted to cancel the show. I thought to myself, my God, I've got a full house, like almost 20,000 people on the night. Yeah, everybody was sitting there, and I went in and I said to them, because his voice, the one that had the high notes, he couldn't hit the high notes, and I said, there's if you cancel, I said, people have come 2 hours on a bus from the new territories, from this and that. I said, you're going to send them back. I said, you guys, the popularity here was in Asia was very strong because they sing ballads and that kind of thing and love songs. But in the U.S., numbers were going down. I said, if you want to continue singing, I said, if it was me, I said, I would go out, I said, and tell the audience that my voice is not good, and I'm going to try, right? At least if they see that you go out and you really try, you have a chance to make things happen.
Yes, yes.
And so they said, one of them said to the other, yeah, let's do that. It's a good idea. So they went out and one of them said, I really apologize, my voice isn't good. So maybe everyone in the audience can help me when I'm singing to get to the high notes, right? And I tell you, the audience went crazy because every time you had to hit a high note, they were all singing, and the spirit, it was unbelievable. And it was probably one of the best shows that they've ever done. They finished the show, and it was I saved sending 20,000 people out, being upset and whatever. So that was just one part of my life that many people don't even know.
That is a fantastic story. That's just, the Chinese people believe turning a crisis into an opportunity, right?
That's exactly a huge
illustration.
Crisis.
That is a perfect
especially to a young guy at the time that was counting all the money and to have to give back for the tickets for refunds, and what a headache. So the most important thing when you're facing a crisis, you have to think on your feet. You really have to think positively. There's always a way.
Right.
Just look for that crack to come in and turn the negative into a positive.
I really believe in that, actually, yes. And we're in the middle of a crisis right now.
We sure are.
So fast forward from the 70s to the 80s, Lan Kwai Fong was big for me as well because I went to UK boarding school and I used to come back on holidays.
I see.
And the place we hang out was California. Okay.
You and the rest of the world.
Remember, and the music of the time was like.
It was great.
And Lan Kwai Fong was still edgy. Yes. I mean, it has more stuff. It's got the Bar 97, exactly. And all that. And then there were these parties like Halloween. Nobody back then knew what Halloween was, right?
Yes.
And they started celebrating Halloween. And I remember dressing up with some of my UK friends, and I thought, well, that's crazy. Why are we dressing up like this? And then people thought we were kind of a bunch of weirdos.
Exactly.
It was just
exactly.
And
today it's a national holiday.
Absolutely. I mean, Halloween is bigger. We have Chinese Halloween, but it's the Western. It's just like so much bigger.
Different.
So, and really, it was really thanks to you, I think, that just
because what happened, I always thought, rather than just being the street with restaurants and bars and everything, we have to do events. And as a kid, living in Canada and in the States, I grew up with Halloween. That was a big thing. That as a kid, you get dressed up in a costume, scary costume, and go trick or treating to every knocking on the doors and filling your bag with either candy, apples, money, everything. And that was really everyone looked forward to it. But when it came to Hong Kong was under British administration at that time. The Brits really didn't celebrate Halloween. At that time they didn't even know what Halloween was. So at that time, I at California, we were just sitting one day. I said, "Halloween's coming up." They didn't know what I was talking about. I said, "Well, why don't we?" So the first year, some of the Guilos decided to dress up, and we went out. And everyone thought we're weird. I was like you said, like the locals were looking at us, like, what are these guys are from the moon, and so I thought, wow, this is really good. And we had a good time, and we went around and we had a party in California at that time. And then the next year, I saw some of the Chinese coming to Lan Kwai Fong, starting and dressing up.
That's probably me.
And other people, and so I thought, wow, it's amazing, and many had been to Canada and the U.S. and come back to Hong Kong. And so they knew what Halloween was, and it became, and then every year more and more people kept dressing up, and we kept doing events, and it was really an amazing thing. And and then of course it brought us to Ocean Park, and it became like a religion here.
Now, one of my ambitions now is having experienced through that period and the Halloween and all that. Now, I sort of wish, as a Chinese person, that some of our Chinese festivals could be revived. Things like Dragon Boat and even Chinese Halloween, right?
Absolutely.
And the August Moon and all the Chinese New Year,
Yeah.
all these have been superseded by the Western holidays.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was in the position, I would love to appoint you to revive our Chinese festivals.
Yeah.
So we have the operas, we have the pageantry, and make Hong Kong people,
Douglas, you
think
actually
that's
have
possible?
a very, very good idea, because the Chinese have fantastic festivals.
Yeah.
The problem is they don't know how, well, it's more a cultural thing, and rather than add the enjoyment to it,
Yeah.
right, it becomes maybe in some festivals things that we have to, it's a tradition and we have to keep the tradition, whatever.
Purists, right?
I like to make tradition fun.
Yes.
I like to enjoy the tradition.
Yeah.
Really make the cultural thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Dragon Boat is amazing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I mean
And Hong Kong should be the capital of World Dragon Boat Championship, right?
Absolutely, and because it is
fireworks.
basically and especially now with all the technology and all that, it should
Hong
go
Kong should be the
viral. It should
capital.
go, it should be the capital. Like Macau has done the fireworks, and that becomes every year one of the major
Chinese
events for
things,
Macau.
yeah.
But I definitely think there's so many Chinese festivals that can be, every
Revived.
festival can be revised.
Yeah.
Everything needs a twist. Everything just needs, something that makes it interesting and goes viral.
Yeah.
And especially with social media today,
Right.
everything is
Yeah.
possible to go viral.
That's right.
It's a different world.
Yeah.
And
I agree. I mean, I think you need to appeal to the young, because I've been to these ghost festivals, and then you have these older people sitting in front of the opera thing, and then them singing, and then it's hot. It's the sound is a bit strange. It's old. It doesn't appeal to young people. But I think you need to mix tradition and style and all the stuff.
But that's exactly right.
And evolve. But if you make these things cool all of a sudden, right? You introduce rappers on stage.
You're right.
Then the young people would start thinking it's cool, like you start
know it well.
Halloween,
I know it
right?
well.
And dressing up and all that, but with tradition.
Yeah.
And then the young people will be able to reconnect with our own identity, and we will feel more Hong Kongers as a result.
Yeah, you're right. Well, maybe one day.
I mean, maybe we could work on a project or something together to revive a particular festival.
Absolutely.
Have the Dragon Boat races in Hong Kong, like the whole. It's like Rugby 7. Rugby is not even a Hong Kong game, right? It got so big.
But it's the party that
Absolutely, it's not about the rugby.
And the same with Dragon Boat. The same with
Or
so many
fireworks,
festivals. The Bun Festival.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
But it's never done with style.
No, exactly.
It's a little bit
tacky.
Yeah. And there's always this little language divide, which is frustrating. Because with the Bun Festival, it's like very Chinese. So Westerners or international people would think that it's not for us. But it would be fantastic to have something to break through.
It would be great. Absolutely.
Yeah. But Chinese people we're guilty of sort of preserving everything.
Well,
and not
because
willing to change.
the difference, I've talked to certain people about it, and I've lived here most of my life, and I am Chinese now.
You are. You're
And
more Chinese than I am.
Well, I have a Chinese passport.
I don't.
I mean, basically, Chinese people traditionally are inward. They keep things inside.
Right.
And they and that's why, even in China today, and we don't get into politics, but even when crisis happens or something in the world, they kind of clam up rather than go out and speak. Because that's just the culture of the way the Chinese have been brought up.
Yeah.
But in the Western world, say Americans are very loud.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll be, they'll be aggressive, and they'll be loud, and so there is such a difference between the two cultures.
Yes.
And again, it's just a cultural thing.
Yes.
Younger generation is growing up differently than their parents and grandparents and whatever, but still, it's an environment, I think, that slowly, as more young people get westernized when they go abroad and then come back home, they bring some of those values here.
Yes.
But I grew up in the fashion business. I was in the fashion business for 35 years, from when I was 16 years old. And so fashion is the world is fashion.
Yes.
Everything is fashion. Whatever industry you're in, whatever it is, it's fashion.
Yes.
And so, to me, I look at whether it's culture, whatever culture is fashion.
Yes.
I mean, everything relates back to a style, a look, a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that are so important.
Right.
Whether you're doing TV, I sit on the board of TVB now, you know, also needs to re-engineer, it's re-engineering itself, you know, I mean, looking at, you know, before it was appealing to dramas for the parents and all that, but young people today, everybody's with their mobile phone, you know, everybody's got this in their hand, you know, you don't leave home without it.
Right.
It's a part of it's like I got the third arm, you know, and so it is important that you kind of look at what the young people. I always look at when I'm doing any business. I always look at who's my customer, what's their habit, what do they like, and then if my product, I can aim it at what they're used to.
Right.
As I say, now all young people grow up with the phone, or 2-year-olds on the internet, you know, playing games or something, you know, and so that's what they know, and so that's why, like say, with shopping, many shops are having problems because they're older generation and they don't know about online shopping. You know,
they can't compete.
And they can't compete, so it's a different world. The world is changing in every single aspect. You always have to accept change because it's fashion. See what the fashion is. See what. For me, go to the street. Street fashion is where it all happens.
When you mention fashion, you don't mean it in the just clothing sense.
Everything.
It's just the way
it's
it's a lifestyle habit.
It's a habit.
Like lifestyle.
Clothing is one part of fashion. You know, and food is another part of fashion. You know, new cars is another part of fashion.
Right.
And so I can go through almost everything. The new iPhone is also fashion.
Yes.
You know, or the new telephone. You know, whatever it is, and so. It's but really knowing who your customer is, knowing what habit they like, what they like to do, then you can fit into the product that you're designing, you're making, or whatever, so that they feel comfortable with it.
Yes. So that brings me to the question that I'm just dying to ask you, which is, how do you rate style? Well, I think I know the answer already, just hearing what you said, because. You know, we have a lot of influential people in Hong Kong, and they can do many things in Hong Kong, but many things have not been done with style. You know, there's always been comment on how this building is so ugly, or you know, how come the posters, or you know, just every aspect of Hong Kong. Hong Kong is not synonymous with style. I mean, it has a sort of street style, which is kind of accidental.
I understand.
Now, you are one of very few people, developers, that has style. Is style the same as vision? Because you have vision too. Do you think it's the two?
I think the big problem, say in Hong Kong, I guess I'll go back to the fashion business again. Growing up in it, everything in my mind, whatever I look at, I have a saying. I always say I look at things not for what they are, I look at things for what they could be.
Right.
So other people, you know, most people look at things, they see the same thing. The ones that are very talented or whatever, they look at the same thing as everybody else, but they see something different. And that's how. So with many of the developers here, they made a lot of money, you know, and that's a style as well, more than in many countries. But many have just had the guts to invest in property at a young age, or born into it, or whatever. But they are very good with numbers, but lacking in what I call the style of architecture and under vision and architecture. So they'll hire an architect firm, and not even when you hire an architect firm, you have to work with that firm. It's like when you have a designer in your company, you have to work with the designer. You just have to point them in the right direction of what you're looking for, and then they'll bring it home for you. But the same thing was, so you can hire an architect firm, and many just it becomes like cookie cutter. It's just a job, and there's no.
Well,
no
they
feeling
maximize
in it.
space.
And they maximize on space because land is so expensive and all that. So they just look at the numbers. They don't look at, for me, the lobby is the most important. The exterior of the building, even if it costs more, the ceiling height, everything I do, has to be. I enjoy that. Whether you're opening a restaurant, whether you're building a building, it needs to have that passion. It's got to have a soul. And many buildings in Hong Kong are just buildings. I keep saying, and it drives me crazy like it drives you crazy because they're once you build something on a piece of land, the earth is only so big. And once you build something, the earth gets that much smaller. And I always say it doesn't cost more money to build something nice with style as same amount of money, because the contractor, the worker, he just follows a plan and just is busy hammering and building something. So they don't know, they just follow instructions. That's the most important thing, especially if you get many, say, government people. It's very generic. It's just you don't really look at. And so for me, just in my world, I want to create something that will be everlasting, even after I'm gone. Whether it's a brand, whether it's a name, whether it's whatever, something that's recognizable. Everybody gets one shot at this life.
Well, you've created more than a building. You've created a district.
Yes, and so, but that's it's a pride for me. I mean, my kids grew up there, and you've grown up there. And so many people, I've seen generations now, and it changes all the time. Like the fashion business changes all the time. So you always have to keep upgrading, new tenants, new people. That gives an area life, And say some buildings are just necessities, you're there in an office building because it's there, it's functional, and that's it.
It seems tragic that Chinese people don't tend to place much emphasis on style. Like my father is one of those people. He likes things that are practical. I don't care if it's, as long as it's easy to clean,
because
efficient,
Douglas,
practical.
I understand, because it's a culture that they come from. Many Chinese people, remember, came from nothing, didn't have money, had a hard time in their life, so they didn't grow up with the things that their kids grew up with,
But it's important, though, isn't it?
It's very, very important.
I think it's very important.
It's very important. But their problem is that you're usually a product of your culture. It's very hard for people to change, And so the way you're brought up, that's why the second generation, people who came to Hong Kong were refugees from China, escaped some during the Cultural Revolution, or other people just emigrated. And they came from a place that was very, not very wealthy, and and didn't have money. Just worked hard to earn a living. Worked at factories in Hong Kong to earn a living. I mean, my glorious days when I was in the trading company, the fashion business, I used to travel. All the factories were in Hong Kong in the early '70s, late '60s. And everything was Sampo Kong, Kwai Chung, Kwun Tong. I used to go up and down those factory buildings. I still remember the lifts were like the old lifts, and even in those days, the toilets. There was no toilet. The toilet was a hole in the floor. But I wouldn't have traded those years for all the money in the world.
That was the golden period.
It was a golden period. It was lovely. I still remember we were doing sweaters, lady sweaters, and we called them tie dye, and because we used to like denim, and so we called him the man in the mountain. There was some guy in in Kwun Tong or something in the old days. It was in squatter huts, and he had a bat, So we called him the man in the mountain. We used to take the sweaters to him, and we used to tie dye them, So, and then we embroidered them, and they sold like mad in those years. It was, but just it was fun. It was a different world.
Right. But I think style is important. So we've got that established. Style is important. Dr. Zeman says. These opportunities that you mentioned back in the 70s. Lan Kwai Fong, and seeing the potential in Lan Kwai Fong, and making a fortune
and buying the property.
Do these opportunities exist anymore today in Hong Kong?
You know, Douglas, every day there's opportunities.
Right.
Because when you have problems, there's opportunities. When people have problems, it means someone's having a problem. The entrepreneur
Right.
is able to capitalize on that.
Right.
Is able to take a problem and make it into a success.
Well, solve the problem.
And solve the problem, find a way you can solve the problem creatively that other people will say, oh wow, he's found a way to solve it.
Right.
I want to do it. You know, and so that creates the whole world. As long as there's problems. I mean, today we have the virus, you know, and obviously it's created a lot of. Some people have done well selling masks. Some people have done well. Yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying it. So there's always opportunity for as long as you think.
Yes.
Don't ever get depressed or pessimistic. Always be positive. If there's a will, there's a way. There's always a way to do it. You have to have that old can-do spirit.
Yes.
And that is something that is the most important thing.
Right. Because I think a lot of people tend to think, oh, he's done so well in property, so I'm going to copy him and do property. But of course, I think there's very little opportunity in property these days.
There's more. Well, property is very expensive. I mean, but there's more to
entries.
Yeah, there's more barrier to entries, but there's other things. I mean, there's a lot. You know, I mean, Hong Kong. If you come up with a new idea, a new thing, listen, I always say, do the things that you love doing.
Yes.
That's something, have a passion.
Right.
You know, I do a lot of speeches sometimes at universities. I've
been to.
And the one thing I always get a laugh, and I tell the students that are graduating,
yes.
You're going to be graduating now, but one thing I'll tell you, don't listen to your parents. And they all look at me, you're kidding, and everyone starts laughing. And I said, I'm joking. I mean, of course listen to your parents, but when you're planning a career, many times the parents are pushing the child because they want them to be a doctor or a lawyer or something that they could never do, you know, and they always have an idea. It's like my mother wanted me to be a lawyer or a doctor, you know. Okay. I wasn't a professional person.
That, no? Which helped.
I never studied. I never went to university. But I just started working at a very young age because I loved I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I just did what my passion was.
The University of Life.
And so the University of Life. Yes. And so that was what I did. And I always tell the students, if you love art, if you love whatever it is, because if you love art or culture and your parents are going to push you into being an accountant, you're going to hate your job.
Yes.
You're going to go to work every day.
You should speak to the parents.
Yeah, but it's a culture, especially Chinese parents, you know. It's a culture. And so, but I say to them, because even if you're forced to go into something, after a while when you become independent, don't stay. If you hate it, don't do it.
Right.
Do what you love. If you love what you're doing, it's like you. I can see you love what you're doing, and you're good at it. Yeah. And if you love what you're doing, you'll be good at it. If you don't love it and you're just doing it because it's a job, you'll never be good at it.
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I'm very fortunate because I have very understanding parents and they let me do whatever. Yeah. But they also see that I seem to be working very hard. I'm like non-stop doing things. And my mother said, oh, you should slow down, you should relax, you should go on holiday.
Every mother says that.
She doesn't realize that I actually have.
You love what you do.
I love what I do.
Because you don't look upon it as work. It's like, for me.
So,
I mean, I probably looked like this. I slept 5 hours last night because I was on the phone with, you know, with things until very late, you know, and they got up early. But I love it.
Yes.
And so it's just something that, you know,
it's a passion.
That keeps you going. It's a passion.
Have you always known this passion, or did you just discover it?
I've always known this passion. I've always followed my dream, you know, and that's always something that I feel very fortunate because I've been able to do what I want, have a dream, make the dream a reality. It's always something that is.
And you've always known this dream, or is it something that is like a vision? It's something that you know all along that this is where you want.
It's a feeling, you know. It's a feeling. It's the same as walking into a building, into a property, into a lobby.
Yeah.
I'm not a trained architect. I've never had any training in my life. Or walking into a restaurant, whatever. But it's a taste level. I could feel what's wrong, and I know what to do with it. It's like feng shui. I never, of course, feng shui is just quite logical. You know, the window should be here, not there. The door should be there, not here. Just makes it easy. It makes it usable, user-friendly. And that's what feng shui says. I've never ever gone to a feng shui master and do my own. You know? And it's really by feel, not by architecture.
Yes. And you have that feel. You have that feel through learning, or did you have to develop that feel?
No, it comes from experience.
Experience.
Exactly, from the street. It comes from living in the street, growing up in the street. My dad died, unfortunately, when I was 7 years old, you know, and so I grew up without a father. And we came from a very modern family. And it made me very independent at a very young age. I was working at 10 years old, you know, going to school. But I made more money. I had a newspaper. I was delivering newspapers, making, in those years, about $25 Canadian a week, you know. And then when I was 12, I got a job cleaning as a busboy, cleaning tables in a restaurant on weekends. And between my newspapers and that, I was earning like $50 or $60 a week. And my teachers were earning like $35 a week. You know, so I always had that very entrepreneurial spirit, because my friends were getting $1 allowance, you know, and I had more money than their parents because I wasn't paying tax or anything. And so I always, when I was 16 years old, I bought my own car. I was the only kid in the school.
This is Canada?
Yeah, in Montreal at the time. And I had a convertible. I was the most popular guy with the girls, you know. I didn't have a problem, but it was just something that I was really able to do, and it really created the foundation for my future, because for me it was always can do. There was no cannot do. I look at things and see things differently, and follow that passion.
Yes. You think this can-do spirit is still alive in Hong Kong?
I think that there's a lot of, the culture has changed in Hong Kong, and you have a lot of young people today that are very confused. It's the handover. They're not sure if they don't have they have a cultural identity. They're not sure if I'm Chinese, am I Hong Kongese, am I British, am I American, you know, because they've grown up a good life. Their parents provided a good life for them, and they grew up and they don't see a future ahead for themselves. And they live in small houses, small flats, and that's created these problems that we're facing. And we can see it's not just here, but around the world. U.S. Now is going through protests and whatever, because they've had a black problem, racial problem from from many 50 years ago. And so the world faces different problems because of social media today. News travels very quickly, and the problem is you have a lot of fake news. But the problem is for people, if it's on the internet, it must be real, you know. And so fake or real, and so that causes a lot of problems, and so it's just something we have to live with. And the thing is, man must live by laws. It's something that's when I always say in school, the students don't run the school. You have teachers, you have principals, you grow up with headmasters, and there's some authority. Man alone must have some kind of authority. Otherwise, you're an animal and you run wild. So there must be some order in your life.
I mean, there's a Chinese saying, 權利and 義務, which is, I don't know of the equivalent in English, which is if you want to enjoy rights, you have obligations, right?
Absolutely.
And the Chinese really do believe in that.
No, absolutely.
But I think the young people today, they believe the rights come naturally, and then the obligations
is coming to me, exactly.
But I think it's down to our generation to show the younger generation of today these opportunities and present them with possibilities, and inspire them. Right? I do feel that there is a sort of lack of future direction, and there's a lack of. I mean, whoever's in charge should present with us a vision.
That's the most important thing. I've always said in a company, in a business, there's no bad staff. To me, there's bad bosses. The head of the company needs to be the visionary.
Yeah.
He or she has to create the vision for the
Right.
company. Where's the company going to be in 3 years,
Yeah,
4 years?
yeah.
People come to work every day
Yeah.
wanting to do their job, but they want to know what do you expect of me, and that's something that is really important. And so there's no point for a boss just sit in his office, do nothing.
Yeah.
These are things that are really, really important.
Yeah. I mean, we have trained bureaucrats in Hong Kong who are good at doing things, at getting things done, but they have to. Somebody needs to give them a direction. And I mean, I was reading your CV, and you were involved with movies, right? I wonder if this is a correct analogy. I would say that Hong Kong is like a movie that has a producer, a very good producer, but no director. Do you think that's
very well put? Very well put. Unfortunately, they've got a financier. They've got to produce to make the movie. They've got writers. The execution is weak. So you've got a director that directs,
who provides a story,
provides the story. But the problem is, at the end of the day, with the actors and actresses, the direction is not great, and so the film is lacking something. It's not a blockbuster, but it's usually, it can come out to be mediocre or a failure.
Yeah.
Hong Kong, unfortunately, has gone through this kind of environment. We can see the system doesn't work.
Yeah.
The one country, two systems is something, which has become a problem because it's never been tried before in the world, ever. Hong Kong's the first place. And, the culture in China, they believe one country comes first. Hong Kong people grew up, the two systems comes first. And so that's where you have this division. And unfortunately, you need a government, you need a leadership to really be able to bridge that gap.
Yes.
And I always say, if we can make all the people in Hong Kong happy, give them a nice house, give them a good life, give them an opportunity, a future that they can really feel it, touch it, then you have something. Then you have, then you have people, if they're happy, if I'm happy with my life, I love the government, I love China, I love everything I do, I'm happy to wake up every morning because I have a good house.
Yes.
In Singapore, 90% of the people own their own home. And that's a basic,
basic needs.
Yes, and basic needs. And that's a fundamental right for a human being. And so these are things that we have overlooked because in the old days, it was government doesn't interfere, market forces dictate. And so it caused this divide between rich and poor. And that needs to be addressed. That needs to really, we need a strong leader to come back and really, we have land. We keep saying, we don't have land. The system is inherited from the British. And that has not been changed, and that's why land auctions go for crazy prices. If you want to keep low taxes, that's what they have to do. But it's wrong, and I think going forward, it will have to change.
Yes, systemic change. Which is why, I mean, whenever I ask the question, who do I think should be the next CE, I always say you. We should have Dr. Allan Zeman as the next CE.
I thought you were my friend, Douglas. I know, I've been told many times.
I mean, to me, because you're international, you are not ethnically Chinese, if I may say so, but your heart is here. And this is what Hong Kong is about. It's kind of like that Berlin spirit of John F. Kennedy, Ich bin ein Berliner. In Hong Kong, it doesn't matter what skin color, your gender.
No, exactly. It's always, everyone's the same. Everyone's the same. I definitely am Hong Konger through and through. I mean, my facial its features are different.
You're becoming more and more Chinese looking.
But I'm very Chinese, inside out, and so I've always felt Chinese, and that's why I changed my nationality, because I feel very comfortable. I'm very comfortable in China, Chinese government. I'm very well known there. I do a lot with them. I understand their culture. I've been in China for 35 years, earlier than many people, and I've seen the changes that took place, how their life improved so much. That's why I admired them so much, and that's why I did change my nationality, because I just felt I've been here most of my life, and this is my home. I don't have another home. I don't think of anywhere else as another home.
we didn't even talk about Ocean Park. That's another success story. I mean, because when you started Ocean Park, Disneyland was just being built, right? And the two were like almost like competing head on, and I think Ocean Park came out better.
Well, for 13 years in a row, we beat Disney every year in attendance.
Absolutely. And who would have thought? It's like Pacific
It's the first
Coffee
time ever.
Starbucks is coming and then winning.
It's the first time ever that's been done in the theme park business. And here's somebody who knew nothing about theme parks. And,
Absolutely.
I was just
and you took that
put myself, put a management team together who knew theme parks, worked with them, inspired them, had the inspiration, and that's a whole other interview. But that was something that really worked well.
I mean, you mentioned about writing a book. You should really put all these things down.
So many people have asked me to write a book.
You really should. You really should. I mean,
maybe
one
day.
It's part of Hong Kong history, you know. It's
well, it's been a big part between between Ocean Park, between so many different West Kowloon. I've touched so many different areas.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Dr. Allan Zeman.
My pleasure.
That was very inspiring.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Please don't forget to follow me on Facebook and give me lots of comments. Give me suggestions on who I can be interviewing next as well. See you next time. Bye.